I'm Trek with 2Ks. I'm Trek with 2Ks. All right, let's try this again. Can we hear me, folks? Can we hear me? Drop me a one someplace. I don't understand. Like at one point, what you call it does good, and then another point, they don't. Restream. It literally has this option now where um you can download matter of fact, this is gonna be my image today. You can download, sorry, not download. You're able to use the mic without the camera. But I don't know if it's the Brave browser that's doing it or if it's something going on with the Restream. But nonetheless, I am um and then my name is Trek with 2Ks. This is Trek with 2Ks live. I got my own channel and I tend to run over here because it's more activity over here on the Gentleman Crypto Network. I appreciate Norkicha. Norkicha. Am I saying that right? Norkicha Battle. Oh yeah, sorry. Yo, listen. All right, I'm gonna get into the whole what happened. I'm gonna get into the whole what happened as far as like this last 2 weeks. Okay. But yeah, so we like I'm smoking on this pack tonight in regards to the Genesis Act and PayPal and like how I see the stablecoin stuff going on. But so all right, oh man, where do I begin? Y'all know I be on my little rants and tangents and giving like, X amount of context and background stuff, right? So, um, man, where is the one that I'm looking for right now? That one. Yeah. So, okay. Um, huh. For those of you who know, the gang green suitor thing is a part of life for me right now. And with that, um, if you know anything about the National Guard and stuff, it's the whole like 2 weeks annual training stuff. So that has happened. I have transitioned into a new unit. Okay, yeah, I appreciate El Cool J, but I don't know, it'd be acting funky. Like I still have to go in and like turn the permissions on the what you call it site on the Brave browser side. But anywho, so jump into a new unit. I'm a PSG, and like when I tell you it was a whole like hit you in the deep end, it was just one thing after another. And that Monday was a very heavy day for me for things that was going on at the unit. And it was a lot, and I just didn't feel like talking. It was a lot, and I just did not feel like talking. Like I had to go sit out on the porch and have a porch cigar because I was just like reviewing how the day went and the things that were happening and what was brought to my attention. And it was just like, what in the like I'm only 3 days in. And so by the end of the day, I was mentally exhausted and talking even more was not gonna be the thing. And I was nowhere on I ain't even look at nothing by the time I got home. Like, yeah, it ain't work. And then I was just being lazy last Monday. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. I was just being lazy. Um, and yeah, so now I'm done with that. It's back to the regular, 0 dark 30 work schedule timeline. And it's so crazy how AT just like throws you off on stuff because like it's a little bit shorter of like well not shorter but later time compared to my regular work time. And yeah, so um I'm working to get back on track, back on schedule, pardon, and like back into the swing of this. And so yeah, man. So I made this anime through what was that, Grok, which is Twitter, aka X number of weeks back, and I think it really holds for how I am looking at some of the stuff I'm gonna get into tonight. um I might actually skip some of the things too, just because I might end up being kind of more ranty ravey on some of these things compared to others. um which one was this? Estimated. Wait, what? Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna start running through. I jumped into a couple stories, but the main things is the Genesis Act and I actually, funny enough, I initially wanted to talk about the Genesis Act like more than a week ago because someone posted something on LinkedIn, and it was the Genesis Act goes through, when is that? Let me when does that happen? That was, what day was that posted? Where are you? I'm trying to find the date on this. Yeah, so 1 week ago, and they basically like gave all the talking points on why it's going to be a pro thing. But I think what really like got me was them saying stable coins are going to decentralize American debt. And I said, what in the what? No, no. Like, you're not going to get to come on LinkedIn. And granted, LinkedIn is like the space of like, oh, well, I'm a professional. I have a degree behind my name. I am whatever business owner or whatever federal or government related working person. And so there's a level of like when you say things on LinkedIn, it's like, well, I'm in this position. And so you're spitting your intellectual whatever, and other people either agree with you or just like, oh wow, I never thought of that, or oh wow, that's interesting. And somebody basically was given all of these talking points to make it seem like USDC, well, the Genesis Act incorporating stablecoins primarily right now, Tether and Circle, will help America keep its financial dollar dominance in the global financial setting as well, because it will be where these two companies and the other type of stable coins that will come after them will have to buy US treasuries and do it at a one-to-one backing. That's going to make everything honky dory in the American market and like the American economic slash financial system. And it was like, get the like, nah, bro. My first like 4 words was, yo, I call cap. Stop the cap. Because nah, that's one. You know what? I'm all over the place right now, y'all. Like, this is how hyped up I was about this shit when I first read the post. And then I had to like read it once more, and I was like, yo, like, this person is really trying to like talk it up like this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it actually is gonna mean like no downside, no gamification, no kind of fuck up, no kind of vested interest, whether it be the user base of Tether or Circle, the backers behind Tether or Circle, the companies that are at the that are the public face of Tether or Circle, the government. Do we need to say anything else in regards to how this administration has worked over the last, what is that, 6.5 months, 7 months now? Like, we 7 months in because the month ends in a couple of days, right? And not to mention how the other financial institutions could mess with the system. And then when I say the system, I mean in terms of the financial mechanisms that are being put in place. And like the other thing that caught me in reading this post was like, wait a minute, Tether's going to make a whole separate stablecoin based product just for the US market to do this thing that y'all are saying is going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread? Like, wait, what were they promised by the US government in order to have them go, all right, yeah, we'll do that for sure. But then go, but we're going to give you a separate product. We're not going to give you the main product that we have being utilized around the globe. We're going to give you a separate product that is solely for your your for the American market. And it's being sold to the public like, oh, Tether's going to use USDT in what the Genesis Act, or the Genius, am I saying that wrong? Genius Act is supposed to like encourage, as far as stable coins are going to be integrated within the US Treasury via the stablecoin companies will be able to buy treasuries. They're making the way, and you know what's funny? When I initially thought of it too, I was like, I wonder if I run this through any of the AI stuff, like how does it interpret what this person is saying and then my response to what they're saying. And I ran it through Grok, and I ran it through DeepSeek. It's funny how DeepSeek broke it down, but Grok was interesting because like Grok kind of gave more of the argument of like, well, these things are like possibilities, and then it gave like, well, let me jump back one. The initial thing was here, based on publicly available information about stablecoins, and this post is my response that this act is really going to be a cash grab at the expense of the public. And then both of these AIs or these LLMs really gave me breakdowns on like what was the the pro or like where the talking point made sense to what I said to counter the point. And then I gave my actual longer reply, which if you follow me on LinkedIn or you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see the thing on there. And so I added that in, and then it was like, well, okay, this is more substantial compared to the first like one liner that you gave before, because you talk about how Bitcoin had its marketing narrative in the beginning, and then we see where that got to. Grok made a point about how, like, yes, you give a timeline for where the gamification might come in, but there's no substantial evidence that you have for it. The killer line to me was what DeepSeek put out at the end, which was so it goes like, final answer. The stablecoin system is designed to be exploited. Companies extract yield while offering offloading risk. Investors pump and dump and trigger runs. Governments turn it into a debt monetization scheme. When it fails, quotation, if not, taxpayers will cover the losses just like in 2008. The only question is how blatant the theft will be. And when I seen that, I was dying of laughter. One, in the reference to the whole '08 situation, and then two, just to be like, yeah, like how blatant is it going to be? And in all honesty, if you were looking at any of the things that even before this administration, like the level of just in your face, and I'm not even going to say gaslighting, because gaslighting, I mean, gaslighting definitely applies for some of the stuff that came out of the Biden's press secretary's mouth, for sure. Where you're just like, wait, what? Like, but we literally have the video, or we literally have the people from the situation. Like, what you mean that doesn't matter? Like, what you mean that's not what they said? They're saying what they said. But nonetheless, here we are, right? Everyone is still pumping, even with this administration. The economy is doing great. Everything is on track. Bassett is saying that there was never any negative impact, financial or economic impact from the administration's tariffs. And it's just like, I know I'm living in the real world with y'all, but yet y'all keep telling me what I'm seeing and experiencing in my day-to-day life in front of me is not what it is. Seriously? That's what's going on right now. But let me jump into a couple of these. Where are you? Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm gonna just go for this one. Yeah, this should work. All right, so I'm gonna come back to this thing about the Genius Act too. But like I said, let me jump into a couple of these stories here. So again, y'all know for a minute or two I've been following Caitlin Long, and I might not agree with everything she says, but there are moments where she be posting stuff that I'm like, huh, yeah, that's crazy. Case in point, U.S. Marshals reveal the government now only holds 28,988 Bitcoin worth the 3.4 million. That is at the time of July the 16th. We are now at July the 28th. So I don't know if the value went up or down because honestly, I haven't been paying attention to the daily price. But instead of the estimated 200,000. So the question goes, well, where the hell did the other crypto? Where did the other Bitcoin go? Who knows? Who do we hold accountable for this? Who knows? Like that's the part that it gets to where it's just like one of the ideals of Bitcoin back in the day was about the economic sovereignty thing, right? I'm gonna hold it, I'm gonna control it, I'm gonna have positive and self-agency of how I hold, use, store, spend this thing called Bitcoin. And then when we started bringing up the conversation around like, well, the government's going to get involved and the government has to be involved. And oh, when the government gets involved, we're going to be able to like actually see and track and trace where it would go if the government started putting their hands in it, right? Lo and behold, the government put their hands in it. We know what department it was, but we don't know who pressed the button on the wallet to say send. We don't know who told the person to enter this address in and then send it there. Like the level of just where's the accountability? Where's the like I'm not going to say no one cares about that anymore. But this level of just which arguably has really been a very upfront and in your face like what are y'all going to do about it kind of thing, laissez-faire, right? Where you have government departments, government representatives doing things where it generally seems like they're not worried because for all this investigation, right? For whatever they did in this quote news article here by Bitcoin Magazine, like tell me where the money or where the Bitcoin moved through the different wallet chains. Like we have Bitcoin explorers for a reason. And then depending on what explorer you're looking at, they give you like readable names. So either you're saying that like where the crypto went, where the Bitcoin went, it's either some kind of brand new wallets that whoever made up to move the stuff around or what? Because I don't even know like us pardon. So if somebody can answer this one for me, tell me if I'm wrong on this, but I don't believe um aside from that smart to have AI analytics. Yeah, bruh. El Hooch, I'm telling you, bro. Like, and then now I know I'm jumping topic, and now I just downloaded the Claude app, and you know Reggie always talking about the Claude app, LLM. Sorry. So I just did the app for that, and I'm gonna probably play around with that for another couple of weeks or whatever. But like, it's the whole thing on like and I still wonder if the LLMs give you a response based on your geographical region, like where you're located when you're asking a question. And what I'm primarily saying is if I ask this question, if I was in Canada or if I was in Latin America or if I was someplace in Africa, if I was in Japan, would the responses be the same? I really wonder that. But anywho, where was I going? Yeah, so again, this whole thing of like accountability, like this is one of the things we argued back in the day about, like when the government gets involved, we're going to be able to see where the crypto goes. And here we are. No one's held accountable. And yeah, that's that. Like the fuckery, man. It just, it, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's this whole just being at the unk status with it now, or just like the, like I get it. Like my thought process and the way that I viewed this stuff is not what it is right now, largely in part because those of us who were in the back in the day, early part, like we're the minority people now. Like, and at the same time, like the way adoption works out is you have to mainstream it in terms of taking away the extreme highs and lows of whatever that thing is, right? But man, I I would almost beg to say like I kind of wish I got in later so I wouldn't be so frustrated with just seeing how the stuff is going right now. Like if I got in at like 2020, I don't know nothing about 2012 and 13 and like the whole bunch of different websites that existed back in like 2014 and 15 for you to be able to buy stuff on. I don't know about like just, hey, I can just go and find like what's it, the Bitcoin street thing, and somebody sells me the Bitcoin right there. Like I don't know about that part, but to know about it and then see this stuff now where it's just like, what do you mean I have to use Coinbase to get my crypto? Why? What do you mean I have to use Kraken to order? Why? That what? I got a wallet, you got a wallet, right? Or I got this fiat, you got the crypto. All right. But yeah, like I question that now. Now that I think about this, like I question that on um the table. Yeah, bruh, the tables is crazy. The table turn is crazy, man. Like I really do question that right now on coming in later in the game versus so early, and just the having that awareness, like having that awareness kind of just really jade you in what you see. Well, in my case, I'll say it that way. In my case, okay. And so yeah, another thing in regards to the Genesis Act, uh Long was making it sound like, well, this could be a good thing if this happens. Like the taxes thing, and I said this before, as far as if there's no change within the IRS, then all of the other stuff that's going on, as far as it relates to the regular everyday average person, especially those of us who kind of like really started, moving X amount of our capital around to put it into different types of quote financial instruments, whether they be within the crypto realm or like the stock side or the precious metals, like stocks already have their thing for the IRS. Precious metals already have their thing for the IRS. Crypto doesn't have its thing for the IRS that doesn't look like it's going to change. And in comparison to like the stock stuff is around for a couple of decades, generation or two, we're still on the like the IRS is like just coming to be like, okay, like yeah, we might make an adjustment, but until it actually happens, and not some like executive order business to push down on them, like I want to see actual, hey, our policy has now changed. Because when it comes to these types of agencies, like they don't just willy-nilly add or take things away. So for me, I'm more on the, when I see that level of, okay, we've officially changed it. Here's how the crypto thing is going to work going forward. Then it's like, okay, I feel a little bit more of the warm and fuzzies, as they say. Hey, what's going on, Eric OG? But yeah, man, like until they actually do something, and I've said this a number of times. Press conference, press release, an article with a clip in it. There's nothing that actually beholds the people who say whatever it is they're saying. And even if you get into some court situation, like there's nothing that even it's limited. It's limited in regards to, well, oh, you said blah, blah, blah in court. All right. So, like, I might have been just testifying against somebody, or I might have been speculating to what I remembered in the situation. But it doesn't mean that they're going to go out and do the thing tomorrow. Case in point, look at the number of things Trump has said he was going to do, or like, oh, this is how it's going to work. And then where are we right now? Did Mexico pay for the wall? Did that new what was the car plant that was supposed to be built in like Illinois or something? That never started. Just saying, man. Like it always seems to hold up. Something is said at the press release in regards to the press secretary person, and then it just fizzles away. It just fizzles away. Give me a second. I'm over here saying stuff. You know what else I wanted to do? I wanted to, well, I don't know. I still might end up doing this tomorrow where I'll take the stuff that was said and then like rewrite it over on LinkedIn. I was thinking about putting it inside the post for the YouTube side of it. Well, in the comments. But I didn't know how the algos would work with seeing that much shit in the post, well, in the comment, like as like one person saying something. I don't know how it will react to that. But Nornisha. Oh, okay. I am so sorry about that, Nornisha. I just read how you spelled out the phonetics of it. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm slow at times when it comes to reading things. Um So this situation, I guess we'll see how it looks. Again, remember, we ain't even cracked 8 months yet. we just got to the end of 6 months. Um, what was this one that got me about this? Yeah. So Citadel, if you don't know, Citadel is a part of Robinhood. And Citadel Security submitted a letter this week to the SEC's crypto task force opposing exemptions for tokenized equities, warning they could siphon liquidity from traditional markets and blur investors' understanding of issuers. The firm asserted that tokenized stocks could be regulated under the same standard as traditional securities. I mean, in practicality, yeah, but again, we still get into the thing of the medium of what tokenization allows you to do is going to change people's what's the word I'm looking for? It will change people's not understanding, but is it usage? As much as I'm trying to think of the word, but it's like how the cell phone changed people's medium of communication from the landline phone, where like your behavior, that's what it is, the user's behavior about that product or service, right? And so example of within the phone is before we had the cell phones, it was like, well, I need to be at a particular place and there's a certain hours of operation in which I would take a phone call, I would make a phone call, right? Like you wasn't out here calling somebody at 12 at midnight. Why? Because they would sleep or the phone was not in access, and y'all gotta remember, like in the early days, it was like one phone on a block. Like, and I said this before, like when my grandmother had her birthday, like her homegirl was talking about remembering when the first phone got introduced to the neighborhood. And everybody was just astonished and surprised. And they're like, oh, wow, a telephone. And now your kid talks to your grand, and grand could be 2 continents away. Like it changes the behavior of the user. And I think that for what Citadel is trying to argue, like, yeah, it makes sense as far as a gamification thing. Does the SEC actually listen to them? I don't know, because I didn't follow up on this story. Maybe y'all might know different. But I also find it funny on the end of it's like Citadel is the one saying this, considering like they arguably may not be doing illegal things within the financial setups for the partnerships and like the way that the financial trade fi stuff for where they sit in that stack. But I mean, there's question on the moral side of it, the ethical side of it. But according to the law, they ain't do nothing wrong. But yet, these are the folks that want to complain about the possibility that this could happen. And I would argue it's probably more of a what happens when these tokenized equities of stocks or like the tokenization of stocks make it into secondary markets and they don't control the secondary markets or they don't control the third tier markets or the gray area markets. Like, I think that's more of a, hey, we see the potential to have another Wall Street bet situation with tokenization because we are not positioned to where we can influence or throttle if the user ends up figuring out how to game the system and beat the house. Arguably, that's what's really being said right here. Hence why they don't like it. But time will tell. Time will. Which one was this? Oh, again, Kalen Long. This is another thing. This was the other who's getting the smoke today. PayPal. But they said all crypto. Well, they said crypto is all scams. Nope. Warrenites are no doubt crying in their coffee this morning. So this came out like last 12 hours, whatever. Tired paying high transaction fees for international payments. Wired, reducing costs up to 90% by offering pay with crypto for payments. Like, let this sink in for a second. Again, I'm at the same thing of, hold on, you're telling me I got a crypto wallet, you got a crypto wallet. Oh, I'm gonna just send you my address. Oh, I'm gonna just send you the QR code. Why do I need PayPal to send the crypto? Like, the way that this is going, again, like it's one of those, like, I don't know. Maybe if I just came in later, I wouldn't be so annoyed with what I see going on. Maybe if I came in like class of 2022, class of 2020, I wouldn't be so annoyed with what I see going on. Like, it's mind blowing to me. You could have done all of this on your own for more than 10 years. Like, let that shit sink in. For more than 10 years. You've been able to send it anywhere around the world for more than 10 years. And yet this is coming out to make it seem like they're doing something new. And like, because at the end of the day, like, you still have the transaction fee that happens because of how the chain process works for computing power and all of that stuff. And then they're adding another fee on top of it. So, like, technically, you're paying two fees because each blockchain has its own fee. Bruh, like, just, I don't know, man. Like, I really just, and like, who's considering, and I'll be honest, like, I don't know that many people that use PayPal like that. Now, granted, I use it here and there for certain things. But for the most part, my PayPal just stayed still for like months, a year, and plus it's at a time. Because it's not one of the platforms that I trust like that because of their previous and their past actions, activities, or like how their track record looks in regards to holding people's funds and the whole delays and shit like that. Like for me, it's not one of the ones I really um like. I'm not gonna go recommending PayPal to people. How about that? Like, that's the short of it. I'm not gonna go recommending it. And even like, oh, I didn't even tell, did I mention this? I don't know if I might have mentioned this, but like when everything cleared with Celsius. And for those of you who've been around for a minute, you know that like if you was having stuff moving in the early part of Celsius, and I'm not talking about the tokens part of it, I'm just talking about if you had stuff on the platform, even if you exited, you still had the dust. And because of the current price of things now, the dust, it equals a little something, right? Um, and I literally, and I've said this to y'all before, in full disclosure, my CPA is CJ the Smart Guy. If you're in an American jurisdiction, you might have to work on figuring out your things in relation to crypto and other stuff. But like, that's my dude right there. And I was telling him when that happened, I said, yo, I moved the stuff over because what they did was, and I'm kind of annoyed. I'm annoyed. I'm not even kind of, I'm just fucking annoyed. Where they only gave you two options of how you could move it out. And I was like, you know what? Bump it. I'm gonna just push it over to PayPal, and I just literally have the little bit of pennies that I have sitting there, and it's just sitting there. And I'm literally waiting for the window of, I'm gonna probably wait like 15 months, maybe 2 years before I actually move it off of there and just throw it into some wallet somewhere and just let that shit sit there. In part because I don't want to deal with the taxes, the tax liability of it for the action. That's it. That's my game right now. Like, and it isn't. And then on top of it, it wasn't like it was stuff that I was missing because it was literally dust when I initially exited out of the platform. And it's only because the dollar is doing what the dollar is doing that the damn thing even went up in a dollar value. Because if not, it would have still been 0.000 some number, some number, some number. But that's how things are going right now. That's how things are going. But yeah, like this whole like, hey, you got to use, these I don't want to say trade file. They're not trade file, but the new wallet, the new, um what do they call them now? Cash apps? No, not cash app. I'm trying to think of the phrase that they call like the apps that deal with cash right now. It is what it is. Like, I still hold the what's the thing called? The Cash app. Like, I still deal with that. Granted, they've done a couple of things in updating their terms of service that I might not be the biggest fan of. But for right now, they're still doing their whole roundup thing. I let it do what it do. And yeah, so it's like arguably there's more sideways, or like not sideways, but more in fintech. Thank you, bro. I appreciate. Elsewhere, I appreciate. St. Elsewhere, I appreciate. But they there are more indirect ways to get your satoshis up now that like are a little bit more stable and proven. So what's the one? Smiles is the one where you're like walking. And if you're one of those people who all know, oh, I got to get my 5,000, my 10,000 steps in a day, you might want to look into Smiles, like do your research on it, but understand like the wallets work a little bit different on that joint. Definitely do your due diligence. I'm just saying there's other ways to get stuff now that have somewhat worked and proven to have some stability to them. I actually wonder how much longer Smiles is going to be around if they're not going to get bought out by somebody, or like, I don't even know what their numbers actually look like for how the money part quote works. Because I've never actually dug into the back end of that company, but for right now, it does what it's supposed to do. You get a couple of stats a day, depending on how much you actually walk. And on top of that, you getting healthy, because right now, it's health is wealth right now for me, yo. And I'm over here in the 40s right now. Health is wealth. But in regards to this joint that I'm showing y'all right now, so basically, the prosecution of the Tornado Cash folks is still going on here in the States, and it basically came out that the person or two people or who were working for Chain Analysis were going to be witnesses, and then for whatever assuming reason, they all of a sudden changed their mind when they ended up speaking to some government person. Heaven knows what was said, right? Because the thing to note in particular about this Chain Analysis connection is that the logic that the government is using, which let me get into what's her name. All right, so this is is that him? I think that's Roman Storm. I never actually looked to see what his name was, but Molly White, don't always agree with her stuff either. She's another person that I been following for a minute. She is making the point, since she's been following this case, that, and it's something that we've been saying on the Gentleman of Crypto forever, like writing a code is not a crime. Someone actually doing a crime like money laundering is a crime, not, well, someone, and it goes back to the simple logic. We used American dollars to fund the Taliban and other what we then labeled as terrorist organizations, and yet we don't stop printing dollars, and we don't give up on the American dollar. So if the idea that the thing that is created by someone or a sovereign entity is not illegal, but it's how people are using it is illegal, then why does that logic not apply here? Because the other part to it is that Chain Analysis is also a federal contractor, because they sell and manage certain products to, I think, like the U.S. Marshals and I think the DOJ and some other folks, whatever, right? But they also were running, oh, where was it? They were running a relay on the Tornado Cash network. So in and I think I kind of get what they were thinking and doing at the time, which was, oh, well, in order to have as much analysis and data as we can as to what's going on quote, like the black market side of crypto, we'll get into the different mixers, right? And remember, the technology and the whole thing is open to anybody, right? So here it is. These different mixer companies are like, all right, bet. Like, you want to be what you call it? Cool. Here, you can be one. Here, you can be one. They giving it out like Oprah, right? And within that, what happens? Government agencies come in, um, forensics companies come in, financial institutions come in. Some people announce who they are. Some people don't announce who they are, right? I imagine Tornado Cash probably sits on a number of mixers and sits in a number of places as far as the nodes and the miners and like relays for probably all of at least the major chains, right? Why? Because they're gathering the data, they're doing the analysis, and then they're packaging it and selling it to the government agencies. And it's not just an American government agency thing. They're also selling it to the other countries who are also looking to track and trace and clamp down and try to pick up some people for using these types of services. So the issue that comes into play with this particular situation, one, the whole thing about the witness being intimidated, but then the other part of the idea is that the prosecution is going, well, Storm, the guy, one of the people who wrote the code, he worked in collusion in a conspiracy with these bad actors to commit these financial crimes. So by that logic, if you are a company or a person who ran the code on the relay or the nodes or whatever, you were also a part of that conspiracy, aka the issue with chain analysis running the relays. Because according to the government logic, the prosecution side, that makes them a conspirator. But you can't use them as a witness and then also have them be the conspirator. So we'll see how this play out over the next coming weeks and stuff. And by the way, this is Molly White. You can, follow her stuff if you're interested. But she's making a good point. But again, like, this is the stuff we've been saying for years, man. Writing the code is not the crime. The crime is the crime. And again, even in that, like, let's not forget, and I'm gonna keep saying this shit, Sam Bankman-Fried broke laws that already existed. That's it. At the end of the day, the laws that he broke already existed. We didn't need no new crypto shit at all, because all of the things that he did wrong were already on the books. But yet the big, oh, we need to have more regulation on crypto. Oh, we need to do blah, blah, blah. The crypto scammers, yo, y'all promoted that dude. I have a number of assumptions on why he got the red carpet the way he did. But nonetheless, it was all those official people who were supposed to be in the know. And on top of that, you know who else I'm on the shit on right now? Because I'm smoking this pack right now. The crypto magazines like Bitcoin Magazine. What's the other one? Telegraph. Everyone who was doing the interview and was pumping this man's name out their mouth like they was on twos. All of them too. And I'm talking about it as far as like the crypto size media. I'm not even talking about mainstream media. I'm talking about the crypto actual like focus platforms. Because everyone was pumping it. Y'all should have friggin' known better. But yeah. That media blitz money is good money. I guess. What was the other? Oh, this also interests me. I did not know that ARK Invest has a staking service. So Kathy Woods is a is the main face of ARK Invest, and she's been on her thing about crypto and certain parts of crypto or certain I don't know, say assets within crypto or certain elements of crypto being better or having better longevity than other parts of it, right? But she's still through the more traditional within the regulatory framework dabbles within the crypto space. And I was thinking about this earlier when I first seen this, in that one of the things that gets me to like, of course, you'll have people say, "Oh, well, if you want to really invest smarter, like do the smarter thing for investing, it's follow the old money." And my counter to that, and it's been like this for a while, is you're not in the same tax bracket as old money. You're not in the same tax bracket as, quote, the smart money. In that you can have people who, where if they lose 200,000, 500,000, a million, they're going to still go to sleep and wake up the next day and be like, all right, let's do it again. Somebody, the regular average Joe, because remember, the majority of the American working folks don't make past what I think it's like 80,000. And I'm talking about like more than 80% of the American working population don't make more than like 80,000. So imagine you just get into your first million and you moved up into that tax bracket. And then here you are trying to follow these people who, again, they lose 200,000. They'll more than likely figure out how to write that shit off on their taxes. You lose that, you devastated. And depending on what else you got going on in life, it might actually mess you up financially for a minute. And so on top of that, the other thought is like, these folks who are in that tier, in that realm, they are looking at financial markets and products and industry in a very different scope compared to the average person. Their time horizon is different. The things that they understand about the financial realm is different. The conversations that they're doing are different. Their value system and how they're looking at, like, we throw the phrase around of what's the thing, building financial wealth, and like, or generational wealth. There we go. Reggie makes the point of building dynastic wealth, right? There is a difference for those of you who are not tracking. There is a difference between generational wealth versus dynastic wealth. But like, to that point of like, those folks are looking at things from a different perspective. And it's not to say you can't learn stuff. It's not to say that you can't, like, make a little bit better in your situation, but trying to follow lockstep or trying to jump ahead or trying to like project, like, the folks is in a different category and situation, and you losing 100K or 50K is not the same thing as them losing that. That's my point on that. But again, I did not know that they were doing staking stuff. And basically what she's doing is she's like outsourcing somebody else to handle the staking stuff for ARK Invest. And they got a bunch of stuff too on what's that, on Robinhood. Why did I do this one? Oh, you know what? So, all right. So, seeing this one too, Binance has launched Real World USD, a principal protected product offering up to 4.2% APR, benchmark to yield from tokenized US Treasuries and other real world assets. Users can subscribe one-to-one using USDT or USDC. Real World USD is non-transferable, non-tradable, and cannot be withdrawn on chain. So Basically, it's we'll give you like valued assets, financial assets or financial instruments. Um, Binance is testing the waters. Like, again, the treasury bonds is gonna be the new lick. Treasury bonds is gonna be the new lick, and um, as I said before, like I did the whole thing between the two different LLMs, and you can literally, if you take the breakdown of the Genius Act and then put that in the LLM and go, okay, what are the potential gamification scenarios by the user base, the token holders, the stablecoin holders, financial institutions, the owners of the stablecoin companies, like the stablecoin companies, as far as them being the owners, and then look at the what is it, the high value investors of the stablecoin companies, and then you have the government. So that's like 4 or 5 different parties with vested interests that at some point, and when I made this the reply in this post, I was like, yo, I give it like maybe 15 months before some level of gamification comes into this. And it's gonna be in one of these parties, if not all of these parties. I don't know who will probably start the first move, but people being people, companies being companies, somebody's gonna do what they're gonna do. And then it's just gonna be a domino effect. In regards to this thing, this product that Binance is launching, that's them just testing the water. And then look at it. It's going to be specifically to the US market. Well, no, I don't know that for certain. It doesn't actually say that. But if you're dealing with the treasuries, like where art, how am I saying this? The argument, not the argument, but the idea that the that treasury bonds are being basically opened to the public is like, it's the fire sale. That's the best way I could think to say it. It's the fire sale. Oh, we did all of what we could do with this thing. All right, bet. Open it out to the regular folks, because the smart money, the old money, they're already moved on to the next thing. They already took their position in the next thing. So open this out to the regular Joes, and we're just gonna slowly watch it sink. That's at least my take on it. I could be way, way wrong. But again, if you're paying attention to what's going on the global scale with what other countries are doing response to our tariffs and stuff, I don't know how wrong I am. I don't think I'm that wrong. Other thing that caught my attention, the Satoshi Era whale just sold 80,000 BTC worth 9 billion. The coin sat untouched since 2011. My guy. Now they're gone. Technically, they are not gone. All that happened was they exchanged the dollar for the bread. Like, that's literally all that happened. The stuff is still sitting in the network. It's still on chain somewhere. What got me with this is, I think this is like the second or third, or it might be like up to 10 like old school back in the day wallets that all of a sudden moved like some serious amount of BTC, which, to the point, I think when I was reading through like some of the comments on it, it's like somebody has said like, oh yeah, like the old heads, the early day folks, they're exiting. And it's just like, that's a potential. That's for sure. They feel like, all right, I sat long enough on this, and I can extract this value. in terms of the regular everyday usage. But here's the thing on this, right? Where the hell did you get the cash to be able to do this? And I think this was done with multiple wallets, like as far as how they moved it around. But like nonetheless, and they even and this is after slippage. Like this is after slippage. Like once somebody noticed that tens of thousands of BTC was moving, even with the slippage, they still got away. And I think it's like technically like 9.6 billion. But it's like, wait, where do you cash that value out at? Like, I feel like there should be more. You know what? It looks. What? Wait, what? If it ain't real DeFi, don't want it. Licks on ice cream. Okay. Okay. I put that together now. I got you. Oh man. Hey, what's going on? Top networkers group. What's up? And what's going on? You got me laughing, Zach. But yeah, like, and so Swan is making the point that like 80,000 Bitcoin moved for this dollar value and it didn't do anything crazy to the market. The number was like 3 point something percent drop, which isn't a crazy drop. Like if you was, 2016, 2017 period, you can see a double digit drop in like half a day and you just like, oh snap. So a 3 point something drop ain't really nothing. But like my thing is this person cashed out in USD or and what would and I didn't read through the thread. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all on it. I didn't read through the thread, right? But it's just like 4%. Yeah, I mean, turn around and go like with that. You turn around and go buy the treasuries. Turn around and go buy the. This is not financial advice. This is so not financial advice. But yeah, you turn around and then you take X amount of it and you jump onto the treasuries, or you to not well, you'd have to definitely convert over. That will put you into the USDT. But arguably, I've been hearing overseas bonds is doing better than American bonds right now. So depending on where you are, aka Hong Kong, you could jump into some Chinese bonds because they out here giving money hand over fist to different countries for investment products. I mean, not investment, but in development projects. And the bonds, they doing what they do, but I don't know. Like this is just, yeah. I'm telling you, just, I like these are the moments where you like kick yourself because if I would have saved more than I spent on Bitcoin, and when I tell you I was spending, I was converting out, I was doing all kind of things. Like I would be in a different space with stuff right now. I would be in a different space. I don't know if I'll be doing this show though. I'll tell you that much. I don't know if I'll be doing this because I'd have been, heaven knows, I'd have just been off on some other shit. Other thing that caught my attention last minute was fintech leaders FIS has teamed up with Circle to integrate USDC payment capabilities into its money movement hub, enabling U.S. financial institutions to offer secure, real-time domestic cross-border stablecoin transactions. Like, again, I'm back at the same thing. You were able to transfer USDT and USDC for more than 5 years, if not a decade, at this point, because Bitcoin is a teenager, 15 years old. So what the hell are we talking about right now? And the only other thing that like I can see the distinction in regards to this is it's the conversion on the fiat side. Because depending on what I'm sending you the crypto for, and like what you're going to as the vendor to be able to get that resource, that product, or that service. Pardon me as I take a sip. Like you're gonna need to convert. So in regards to that, but imagine, arguably, let's say what, maybe another 5, 10, man, more closer to 10, probably. More than five. Let's say more than five, right? And here's the other crazy part. You have vendors, and I forgot the name of the company that does the like, all right, you can have people pay you in the crypto, and then we'll do the conversion on the back end for you. We'll convert it out into the fiat side, right? That's already a business thing. Like there's a company that already does that. If I wouldn't have spent Bitcoin to buy alcohol, yo, yeah, man. Listen, no, see, I didn't do that level of craziness. I was doing other stupidness. But you live and you learn. We are where we are right now, and it just is what it is. Fuck it, it is what it is, right? Um, I'm not out here like some folks I know, right? But to this point, and then I'm gonna still leave on that whole genius act thing. Um, we're like we're adding in these companies into the process of how we spend, send, share, and save our financial capital. And the crazy part to me again is the technology worked for you to have self-agency over these things. That was the whole goddamn point, for you to have self-agency. Like, and then even look what we're doing with the fiat side of stuff. Banks don't really hold the money like that. Oh, you know what? Bet. Let me, before I even forget this damn point. Okay. So this also ties into the shit with Circle and the Genius Act and like this whole thing about the treasuries and the backing of the one-to-one. Like we already know that at a certain point in the various parts in its history, Tether has had questions around the accuracy of stating what its backing was, right? Circle hasn't gotten as dirty, but there tons to be there's a little bit more of a robust system for how Circle is set up versus um Tether, right? But nonetheless, Tether makes a product that is specific to the US market and was like, all right, we'll give you this stable coin and we'll do the thing of backing it for the treasuries. Like I'm not saying to folks that the lower tax bracket folks aren't gonna get a lick, aren't gonna get a come up, aren't gonna make a couple bands or two, right? That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is we're all going to pay for this when the gamification gets in and when the the cash grab or the quote wealth transference is done. Again, this whole idea that was put into a well articulated post by what's this dude's name? Matt Bauman. I might be saying his name wrong, but if you find me over on LinkedIn, you could look at it and see how his name is said. The point is that the American taxpayer is going to end up paying for this. So even if you get the lick on the front end, 24 months, 36 months, 70 something months down the road, when the system doesn't do what they sold us that it was going to do, oh, this is going to keep the American dominance of the USD. This is going to help the Treasury do blah, blah, blah. Us as the everyday tax paying citizen is going to have to bail this situation out. So even if you made your 5,000 or your couple of bands or whatever, because you was holding some stable coins and maybe you was able to exit, in a good due time, like we're all still gonna pay. Why? Because you're an American citizen who pays taxes. That's it. Because like here's the other thing to understand. Like this isn't even a sustainable system. Like there is 100% a shelf life on this. And why do I say there's a shelf life on this? Is because they aren't connecting it to the they aren't connecting it to the main product. Tether is not using their main product because their main product is being used in other jurisdictions and global markets. And if they fucked around and gave their main product to this American setup thing that they're doing with the Treasury, imagine what America would try to do to mess with what's going on in their other business dealings. And I honestly think that they were given some level of protection that the main product isn't going to get touched. The other thing to note, and here's the other reason why I think this is straight, it's just a crash in slow motion. And I had to double check this just to make sure I wasn't bugging. What do y'all think actually holds the the what holds the treasury, what holds um um what's the other one, what tether and circle, to keep it at a 1-to-1 backing? Like what holds it in terms of, like, yeah, the act says, like, and I haven't actually read through the act, right, the Genius Act. So could it be that it's like it is recommended that it has a 1-to-1 backing, or is it that they shall, or because y'all know how lawyers lawyer, right? And when it comes to how these acts be put together, or like how these policies are put together, it's always a thing about, well, it says blah 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 blah, but this could be interpreted as this, that, and so we get into that game. But here's the kicker: if traditional finance, aka TradeFi, does not have to have 1% of what you call it, of reserve, there's no 1-to-1 backing in traditional banking, then what makes you think that once this stablecoin ball really get rolling, they're gonna keep it to a 1-to-1 reserve? Like, and mind you, 2020 is when who did this? Who did it? No, not you. No, where'd you go? Whose window was I looking at? It was anywho, 2020 was when that got what is it? It was 2015, exactly. Live and learn. Once I realized it was just a way to get my BTC stopped, and I traded altcoins, and altcoins or stable coins would have been better than just going all in on BTC. Wait, what? Or yeah, live and learn. Live and learn. Who said the other thing? You. But yeah, so again, if your Penny Max, no, not Penny Mac, if your Wells Fargo's, your Bank of America's, your Chase's, your JP Morgan, your PNC Bank, like if none of these joints have to have a 1-to-1 or even half of a one reserve backing, what makes y'all think that they're literally going to keep that as a thing with the stable coins? Why would they if they don't do it in the regular banking system? Like, make that part make sense to me. So again, not saying folks ain't gonna get a lick, but it's like the talking points sound cool. The talking points sound great, and everyone wants to be on this whole patriotism thing and the bravado, but like it's still selling the the hubris of the American position within the finance world and within just the general global outlook, as though this is still friggin' the early 2000s or the 80s or the 90s. We can do no wrong. We can say what we want to say. We want to be the bully on the block. And I'd literally get into this with my coworkers. I'm like, yo, this is not 1990. This is not the early 2000s. We're not in the same position. But everyone wants to throw and quote mainstream news stuff at me like, oh no, well, we're doing blah blah blah. The Trump said this, and oh, this person did that, and look, where the economy is doing great. Word? Really? I'm just saying, like, and we always tend to tell on ourselves. Our government will do stuff, and when you give it enough time, we eventually tell on ourselves on how we did some fuckery. USS Liberty. If you ever look up the history of the USS Liberty and what country attacked the USS Liberty and killed over 100 US sailors, and the president who sat on the phone and was like, yeah, don't go help them. I think the last person just died like in the last 3 years or something. Like, eventually we always telling ourselves it's a thing. Like, you know what else is like what gets me is that with the with the advance, not advance, but with the propagation of things like YouTube, like a TikTok, like Twitch, and these different informational sharing platforms, right? You have a lot more folks who have expertise in things literally just coming out and having full-on conversations on like, oh yeah, well, you know, and like the historian folks or like the intel folks or like the actual engineers or like official economist people who've literally taught in different countries around the world, and they're coming in and explaining the stuff. And it always amazed me how you have the experts who know what the hell they're talking about, but they get no traction on mainstream because it doesn't work with the narratives. And then people be like, oh, well, you know, well, on CNN they said blah blah blah, and like, yeah, the person they brought in is quote an expert, but like if that person talked to somebody who wasn't a paid speaker and actually had to defend their points, like whether through statistics or through historical facts, most of them folks would lose, man. Most of them folks would lose. Most of them folks will come out looking like real idiots. Like, remember when we did the run up to what was that? Iran? Like, oh God, what was I listening to today? I'm gonna be done after this last tangent right here. I was listening to somebody explain it was two geopolitical analysis people having like a debate, and the guy made the point. He was like, yo, bin Laden, no, what was it? Saddam couldn't stand bin Laden. Like, no dictator wants somebody else coming in their space talking about they want to do X, Y, and Z. That's not happening. And so the guy was like, well, no, it wasn't American policies that did this. And he was like, but if you actually read the speeches and listen to what he said in the videos, he literally says that's why they took action. So what are you saying? And the guy's like, well, no. Well, Afghanistan today isn't a democracy. And it's like, my man, that wasn't even, you're not addressing what he just said to you. You went total tangent. You went in a whole different direction. What up, man? You mad late, bro. You mad late. Granted, I kind of actually started a little bit early today, though. Yo, what's going on? Bitcoin Shango, what's up, man? Oh, yeah, I did kind of start a little bit early today. But like I said, bro, it's just crazy out here. Like, you have what is going on in other parts of the world, and depending on what you're paying attention to, some of the stuff you might have an awareness to, some of the stuff you don't. Case in point, Cambodia and Thailand is having an exchange of weapons right now. When I heard that one, I was like, that's wild. I've been to both of those places. I'm like, wow. I didn't see that. But yeah, that happened. Quote is happening. But yeah, man, it's just, yeah. I gotta just look at it and just laugh and just be like, hey, let me make time to, you know, enjoy the company of the folks that I have around me, build the memories, do what I can to like stack up what I can for the next generations, try to pass on the information and things of that I'm aware of. Like case in point, a family member reached out in regards to joining the service, and it was one of those like, you sure you want to do that? Yeah, and they have their whole thought process, and I was like, all right, well, here's what I'll say to you. And this is why I can never be a recruiter. I can never be a recruiter because I suck at trying to sugarcoat this whole being in the gang for whatever element you join. I suck at that part. And I was like, listen, it's a mixed bag, bro. Like, it's definitely some cool things like benefit wise, but and they looking to go straight active. They're not even looking to be in any of the reserve guard side stuff. But I try to share and give what I can and go from there. But anywho, Bitcoin Shango, wish you'd have jumped in earlier, my man. Wish you'd have jumped in earlier. I had a whole little side tangent about like why I missed 2 weeks ago and the whole thing of being a PSG at the new unit, and just it. The first 3 days was heavy, bro. The first 3 days was heavy. Oh man. But anywho, I didn't read the part that y'all talking about the Ross. Might be Rose. Are we saying Rose? Probably Rose. What up though? Yeah. I don't know. But anywho, it is a Monday. I hope y'all had a productive over a busy day. I hope your weekends went well. It was a pretty warm weekend. Yo, I did a hike with the new unit out at Harper's Ferry. Whoo, my body is still feeling that. And it isn't even a distance. If you ever been out to Harper's Ferry out there in West Virginia, it sits like on the triangle thing of like West Virginia, Virginia, and Maryland. Man, great view. It's a part of the Appalachian Trail. If you're an outdoor person, you should definitely check it out. Burning downstairs. Yep. Literally, I looked it up. I looked at the same thing too. Where you at? I'm trying to get to your comment perspective. Yeah. Like I said, 2020 it happened. But yeah, if you got to enjoy the outdoors, good, again, health is wealth. Like I'm so realizing it more and more, the health is wealth kind of thing. If you got to spend time with the family, cherish those that you care about. Make time to make the memories. I'll say it that way. The last 2 weeks was kind of heavy for the things that were brought to my attention. And then, like Ozzy passed, Hulk Hogan passed, and Malcolm Jamal Warner, like if you have a certain age, that was your growing up, okay? And it was so crazy that the Malcolm thing happened because I literally had to show one of my young Joes the episode of him and Bill doing the Monopoly money thing because I was trying to explain something to them. I'm like, I hear you on how you want it to go, but this is a Theo moment. And then lo and behold, like that comes out like a day or two later. And I was just like, this is wild. What? And so now when I say to them, like, yo, like you having a Theo moment right now, they look at me and they get kind of annoyed because it's like, all right, Sergeant. Yes, Sergeant. But yeah, and enjoy the time that you got, man. Enjoy the time that you got. I'm done with the rambling. So it's a Monday night. I hope y'all do well for this week. Hope everybody stays safe. And as I say, from one human to the next, the best that I can wish is for you to be in a safe place, in a safe space, and in good company. And that's what I got for y'all, you know? All right. Closing it out. I'm Trek with 2Ks.